Okay, now we will see how we have only 72 Melakartha ragas and not more or not less. The classification of this Melakartha goes to a music historian and a musician of some repute by name Sri Venkata Mahim. He lived about 200 years back, and like any classification system, Mendeleev's periodic table is the one that is oft used as an analogy for this. It was used for there were some ragas of the 72 that were already known at that time. So those ragas were put in their respective places in this table. And then using the pitch class, Sri Venkata Mahim set out to discover, are there more ragas using the same pitch class that ought to have been discovered but have not yet been discovered? And yes, credit to him, he was able to come up with a whole bunch of more number of ragas. If I remember my data right, of the 72, only 19 apparently were prevalent before this classification was done. So the remaining 53 ragas were newly synthetically created, for lack of a better word, by Sri Venkata Mahim, and many of them have shot into prominence, and the musical composers have set them to tune, and they have now become very popular ragas and tunes. But not all 72 have become popular. There are a few ragas which were purely discovered because of this classification and probably are not so pleasing to the ear, or there is not a lot of body of work, and culturally they're not yet entrenched. So that's an exercise for anybody who is determined to explore and see why isn't a scale popular yet, why is a ragam not yet popular, to try and see compositions in those obscure ragas also. But now back to this, why are there only 72 ragas? Fairly straightforward. We have set some rules on the keyboards, and using those rules we will be able to find out that there are only a finite number of ragas that can be found. Any raga, you cannot vary a raga by sa and pa, because it is one key, C, that has been assigned to sa and said this is sa. So the sa and pa cannot give the variations. Ma is capable of giving variations, and then we will come to the re and ga variations and the da and the ni variations. Right, so in a raga, if using ma alone, it is possible to have twice the number of ragas. If you have 10 ragas, then without changing the ma, if you have arrived at 10 ragas magically, let's say, then by changing the ma, or using ma 1, you will have 10 ragas, and using ma 2, you will have another 10 ragas. As a result, you will have 20 ragas. So how many ever ragas you are capable of coming up with without ma? Ma is simply capable of doubling it, because for every ma 1 there is a counterpart ma 2, using which you can create a ragam. Right? So ma's role is to double the number of ragas that are there. Let's look at re and ga, how many variations they are capable of giving. We know that the rules for re and ga are simple. Pick one of these two keys from these four keys: C sharp, D, D sharp and E. Pick any two, and the lower pitch becomes re and the higher pitch becomes ga. So there are 6 ways in which two keys can be picked from these 4. C sharp and D is the first, C sharp and D sharp is the second, C sharp and E is the third, D and D sharp is the fourth, D and E is the fifth, D sharp and E is the sixth. So there are 6 variants that are possible using this alone. And there are 6 ragams possible if we vary D and E and keep all of the rest of them unvariant. There are 6 ragams possible here. So you know that if we bring the ma into this, then it is 6 into 2, 12. But we'll come to that in a minute. So the scheme for da and ni is exactly identical to re ga. You have to pick 2 from here and name them, the lower pitch as da and the higher pitch as ni. So the same 6 ragas are possible here. Combination 1, G sharp and A, combination 2, G sharp and A sharp, combination 3, G sharp and B, combination 4, A and B flat, combination 5, A and B, combination 6, A sharp and B. So the same 6 are possible. So for every ragam here, if you don't change any of this, it's possible to have 6 dani combinations. So the right way to look at this will be, because that's how they are numbered. You pick sa, C sharp and D. These are the first combinations. Don't tinker around with this, don't tinker around with the Ma also, pick the smaller Ma 1. Let us go to Dani. So the G sharp and A is the first combination, and that gives you the very first of the Melakartha ragas, which is also called Kanakangi. So Kanakangi is a very obscure scale because it's pushing the entire frequency spectrum to the lowest possible permutations combinations. I will play that in a minute to show you how it feels. But Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, Pa, Da, Ni and Sa. That's the combination of the swarams. Now let's see how the raga Kanakangi, which is Melakartha number 1, how does it sound acoustically? There is a famous song from the movies Hindu Bhairavi, Tum Dum 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 Tum Dum is the song. If you are interested, you should listen to that. There are not much in this. There is a Carnatic music song called Gana Murti, but beyond that, there are not too many songs in popular culture, at least, based on this ragam, because it, as you can hear it, when you hear it, it sort of gives you a very eerie feeling because the notes are too closely packed with the semitone gap, too many semitone gaps. So it's not a scale that is very pleasant to the ear probably, and as a result probably not very popular in the culture yet. Very similarly, just like we saw the very first scale in the Melakartha scheme, let us look at the very last scale in the Melakartha scheme, which is you push everything to the last. That is, we took the first combination of Riga, the first of the Ma combination and the first of the Dani combination. Now we're going to try and take the last of the Riga, last of the Ma and last of the Dani combinations. So the same, Riga, both of them, so D sharp and E forms the Riga. There's a huge gap between Sa and Ri. Then Ma 2 we are taking, that is F sharp, G we will not change, but Dani again, A sharp and B. This raga is called Rasika Priya. It's again for the experimental people that these kind of ragas exist. They are not very popular in the prevalent in the popular culture. This is one song in a movie called Koilpura by Ilayaraja, which is in this Rasika Priya. Then Nan Kadavul has another song which is in the same scale. But these are probably more for the experimental musicians. But now that we have seen both ends of the extremes of this scale, now let us look at why is Shankarabharanam 29. Now, while there are so many ragas, we cannot randomly do the variations. So the way the numbers go from 1 to 72 are simple. You keep the C and D as low as possible, pick Ma 1, then exhaust all the Dani variations. So that means for raga 1 to 6, C, C sharp, D are fixed, Ma 1, F is also fixed, then G is of course always fixed because Sa and Pa are the same. Then you go to first ragam will be G sharp A, the second ragam will have the same set of Sarigama, Pa, and Dani alone will be, instead of G sharp A, it will become G sharp A sharp. The third ragam, again Sarigama, Pa will be all the same. The Dani will be G sharp and B in this case. So you exhaust the first 6 ragas in that manner, and when you have exhausted the 6th raga, you now have a choice of either going to the Ma 2 or the Riga, but the convention is not to touch the Ma 2. First exhaust all the 36 ragas using Ma 1. So the 7th raga is obtained by moving to the next of the Riga combinations, which is C sharp and D sharp. That's the second combination of the Riga. And so raga 7 to 12 will be having this Riga and the 6 variations of the Dani, 7 to 12. So now you can see how did we arrive at 29. Now 29, you remove the first, how many 6 ragas will go away in 29? 24, 4 6s are 24, so the first 4 Riga combinations are gone up to 24, raga 24. So we are now in the 5th Riga combination. The 5th Riga combination, as if you remember, this is the first Riga, 2nd Riga, 3rd Riga, 4th Riga and 5th Riga. So 5th Riga will mean C, D, E, not any other sharps or flats. C, D, E would mean we are in the 6th Riga combination. Again, we have not crossed the 36, so we are in the lower Ma combination, so we are in F not F sharp. G is the constant. Of the fifth, in the 29th number, if you take off 24, which account for the first 4 Riga combinations, we are on the 25th is the first, 26th is the second, 27th is the third, 28th is the fourth, and 29th is the fifth. So it is the fifth Dhani combination of the fifth Riga combination. So the fifth Dhani combination is AB. Same reasoning. First combination Dhani, second combination, third combination, fourth combination, fifth combination. So the fifth combination of Dhani on the fifth Riga combination with the lower Ma gives you Shankarabharanam, and that number is 29. So the other concept that we have is in any Indian raga, if you have if you replace the Shuddha Madhyamam with the Prati Madhyamam, all you do is increase the number by 36. So if you do 29 plus 36, you will get the number 65. So 65 would mean nothing has changed except the Ma. F has become F sharp. Whenever the two ragas are different by a number 36, the only difference between them both is on the F and F sharp. If it is lower, F sharp will become F. If it is higher, F will become F sharp. And so 29 plus 36 is 65. 65 is a very important scale both in Carnatic music and in English music. 29 plus 36 is 65. 65 gives rise to a ragam called Kalyani. Now, the English Western music people will be familiar. C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C is not a scale by itself, but it is an important mode of the major scale. It's called the Lydian mode. So Lydian mode corresponds to the raga Kalyani in Carnatic music. Let's take a look at a few other ragas that are common, scales that are common between Carnatic music and Western music. The Dorian mode of Western music, or the major scale, the Dorian mode of the major scale, which is, if you take the major scale and play it from D to D, you will get the Dorian mode. So the D to D is D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. That scale gives rise to a Melakartha ragam called Karahara-priya. Now, Karahara-priya raga has the following Riga patterns. From 22 you can actually figure it out, but I will tell it to you. Sa, Ri, Ga. Now we took a D mode and transposing it to C. That's how you should see the scale. Otherwise, it will be tough to demonstrate this on D to D. So the Dorian mode of a major scale played on the note C. If you start with the C major and then play the Dorian mode of it, then it is a D to D of that scale. But if you take the D to D semitones and tone interval difference and map it to the C note again, that is, play the C Dorian mode of the major scale, C Dorian mode of the major scale, then the notes you will get will correspond to a raga which is called Karahara-priya, which is a very, very, very important raga in Carnatic music. And that will be C, D, D sharp, F, G, A, B flat and C. That's the raga called Karahara-priya. I'll play that here in a minute. This is a very, very important scale in Carnatic music. You will find lots and lots of short songs, kritis, and real long treatise kind of songs in this raga. There will be no scarcity of finding songs in this ragam called Karahara-priya at all. And if you are like me, you will be a fan of this raga too. Let's look at another important mode of the major scale, which is the Mixolydian mode, if I got my modes right. The Mixolydian mode of the major scale has all the same notes as the major scale except a flattened seventh. So all the same notes as the major scale except a flattened seventh. This ragam is called Harikambodhi in Carnatic music, Harikamboji. Its raga number is 29. One raga before Shankarabharanam. Shankarabharanam is 29, the major scale. And that's because the Dhani combination, they're identical in everything else. Riga combination identical, Ma is the lower Madhyamam. They're only different in the Ni. So in the Dhani combination, the Harikambodhi is the fourth Dhani combination, hence 28, whereas Shankarabharanam is the fifth Dhani combination, and hence the number 29. We'll play that and see how that feels. I'll go one octave higher. That's a ragam called Harikambodhi. Now let us see some of the other scales, important scales in Western music. The natural minor scale. The natural minor scales notes for people to be refreshed. It's C, D, E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, and a C. And this is how it sounds to the ears. This is a ragam called Natha Bhairavi in Carnatic music. There is one famous song, Srivalli Devasenapati. Film music, of course, because natural minor is used somewhat in melancholy situations. Film music has a lot more of songs in the natural minor scale than Carnatic music has songs in the scale, in the raga called Natha Bhairavi. But Natha Bhairavi is very much a ragam. Its Shuddha Madhyamam counterpart, which is plus 36, 20 plus 36 is 56, is a raga called Shanmugapriya, which has a lot more, as a body of work, it has a lot more songs by famous composers than the raga Natha Bhairavi. So if you are interested, you should also explore the Shuddha Madhyamam counterpart, the Pratimadhyamam counterpart of Natha Bhairavi, which is raga number 56, a raga by name Shanmugapriya. Shanmugapriya sounds like this for the ears. Yeah. Then, so that's the natural minor scale. Natural minor scale is also an Aeolian mode of the major scale. So the next important mode is the harmonic minor. The scale is harmonic minor. Harmonic minor is the 21st Melakartha ragam called Kiravani, which is very similar to the natural minor, except it uses a B instead of the B flat. That's the only difference. And this is how it sounds acoustically. You will find quite a lot of songs in this raga, in all forms of music, Western music, Indian classical music, and in Indian film songs also. Which brings us to the last of the melodic minors, which is called Gauri Manohari. It's the 23rd Melakartha ragam. It's the major scale except with a flattened third note, or the E becomes a E flat. Rest all are similar notes to the major scale, and it sounds like this. The Pratimadhyamam counterpart, which is plus 36, F sharp instead of F, of Gauri Manohari, is a very famous ragam called Dharmavati. Melakartha number 59 called Dharmavati. Dharmavati is used extensively for showing a longing for love or pining for love kind of a feeling in Indian music. You should be able to hit some good songs which are based on this scale, and the scale sounds like this. In Tamil film music, both Ilayaraja and Rahman have used this to good extent to show the pining for love kind of a feeling. So that brings us to a little bit of closure to the first section, which is ragas. We saw ragas, we saw Melakartha ragas, which are one type of ragas called Janaka ragas. Now there is another whole bunch of ragas called Janya ragas. Janya ragas are ragas that are obtained which are not following the strict classification that the Melakartha rules follow of having sa and pa in every raga, one of two mas, and Riga is also present, Dhani is also present, and all of them are presented in a nice ascent order and a nice descending order, no jumping, zigzagging or any of that thing. So when you break all these rules, you get into Janya ragas. That is, notes can be omitted, then notes can be traversed zigzag. You need not say 1 2 3, you can say 1 3 2 3 also. And the notes which are not there in the parent raga are also borrowed for the child raga. So all of those ragas come under a classification called child raga or Janya raga. So if the parent raga Janaka raga, then you have child ragas which are Janya ragas. Broadly, two classifications of Janya ragas: Upanga raga and Bhashanga raga. So in Upanga raga, it will only strictly take the notes of the parent from which it is derived. But in Bhashanga raga, like ragas like Bhairavi and even Kambodhi, you will find that apart from omitting 1 or 2 notes from its parent scale, the Janaka raga, it is also touching a note which is not there in the parent raga occasionally or sometimes frequently also. What one would commonly call as a chromatic scale, probably in an English context, although they are not identical. Bhashanga raga are highly classical. That is, you upfront tell how you are going to violate, but that violation is also done in a very strict fashion, and you strictly stay within the boundaries of violation. So to take a small digression here, so classical music, in Carnatic music, even the ragas can have anya swaras also from its parent scale, but even then it can sound classical in nature. And the reason it still ends up sounding classical is it's up at the very beginning of the performance. The ragam tells, or the performer tells, what are the small excursions he is going to do. And having said these are the excursions, he will stay strictly within those excursions and never go beyond those excursions. So the choice of the raga kind of gives you a big area to explore. But you should not be lazy to stray into other places where you are not explored. So if you're a willing performer and if you're a hardworking performer, yes, there are boundaries, but within those boundaries there are endless possibilities that are to be explored rather than lazily straying away from the boundary that one has set to begin with. So we will see some of the famous Janya ragas. Probably we'll see the pentatonic major and the pentatonic minor and a couple of other interesting ragas, and then bring it to a close.